December 1935, Berlin, Germany. In a quiet government office, a document was signed that most people would never hear about. No announcement, no press coverage, no public ceremony, just a signature and the beginning of one of the most disturbing programs the 20th century would ever produce. It did not involve soldiers or battlefields. It involved mothers, babies, children asleep in their beds at night, and a government that had decided it had the right to decide which human beings deserved to exist. What they built was called Lebensborn, and what happened inside it was not care. It was control. Most people know the story of Nazi Germany through its armies and its atrocities. But this chapter, the one that reached into maternity wards and farmhouses and orphanages and took children by the hundreds of thousands, this chapter is the one that history has been slowest to confront, because it didn't look like war. It looked like paperwork. It looked like hospitals. It looked like welfare. And that made it more dangerous than almost anything else the regime ever created. To understand how something this dark became government policy, you have to go back to 1933. Germany was a nation that had spent 15 years in humiliation. The economy had collapsed, veterans were starving in the streets, and families had nothing left to lose. Into that desperation walked Adolf Hitler, and with him, a racial ideology that offered simple answers to complicated pain. Some people, he told the country, were valuable. Others were a burden, and Germany's future depended on encouraging the right births and eliminating the wrong ones. Within months of taking power, that ideology became law. In July 1933, Nazi authorities passed legislation authorizing the forced sterilization of anyone they labeled genetically unfit. Special courts were established. Doctors were given authority to make permanent decisions about who could become a parent and who could not. Hundreds of thousands of people walked into hospitals for what they believed was routine treatment and walked out knowing they would never have children. Many had no idea what had been done to them until it was too late. But preventing certain births was only half the plan. Heinrich Himmler, the man who commanded the SS, had a vision that went far beyond sterilization. He wanted to engineer the next generation of Germans. In December 1935, he created Lebensborn, officially described as a welfare program for mothers and newborns. The facilities were clean, comfortable, well-staffed. Women received medical care and housing. From the outside, it looked like charity, but every woman who entered was first investigated. Her ancestry was traced. Her physical traits were measured. Her family history was examined line by line. Only those who passed the racial screening were admitted. The first Lebensborn home opened outside Munich in 1936. Then more appeared, each one quietly operational, deliberately kept away from public attention. Many of the women inside were unmarried, a social shame at the time, and Lebensborn offered them privacy. What it also offered was documentation. Every birth was recorded. Every child was cataloged. Every mother's file was carefully archived. This was not care. It was data collection for a racial project designed to outlast the war. Then in April 1940, Germany invaded Norway, and everything expanded into something far darker. Nazi racial theorists believed many Norwegians possessed what they called Nordic traits: blonde hair, blue eyes, specific facial features. Relationships between German soldiers and approved Norwegian women were quietly encouraged. Children were born. Lebensborn facilities opened across Norway, and those children were added to Himmler's long-term inventory of the population he intended to build. But in the East, the program took a turn that no official document could ever fully sanitize. After the invasion of Poland and the Soviet Union, SS teams were sent into occupied villages, schools, and orphanages with a specific mission. They were looking for children, not to protect them, to take them. Teams of racial evaluators examined hair color, eye color, skull measurements, and skin tone. Children who matched Nazi standards were separated from their families, often without warning, often without explanation, and transported to processing centers. Their names were changed, their languages were forbidden, their pasts were erased. Then they were placed with German families who had no idea, or chose not to ask, where these children had actually come from. Historians estimate that between 50,000 and 200,000 children were taken through this Germanization process from Poland alone. Across all occupied territories, the number is believed to be far higher. Some parents ran after the trucks. Some were arrested for resisting. Most were simply left standing in empty doorways, with no information, no recourse, and no idea whether their child was alive. By 1943, Germany was losing the war. Cities were burning. Armies were being destroyed on the Eastern Front. But Himmler did not slow down. He accelerated, because the racial project was not a side effect of the war. To men like Himmler, it was the point of it. Military victory mattered only as a means to reshape the European population permanently. As Allied forces closed in from both sides in early 1945, Nazi officials began destroying evidence. Files were burned, records were shredded, facilities were abandoned. Officials disappeared into civilian crowds, hoping the paperwork would protect them the way it no longer could. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered. Investigators moved through the ruins and found the files that hadn't burned. What they uncovered was a system that had operated across more than 10 countries, taken children from their families by the hundreds of thousands, and permanently severed identities that could never be fully restored. The Red Cross worked for years to reunite families. Some children were found. Some parents finally learned what had happened. But many reunions were not the relief people had imagined. Children who had spent years inside German families, forbidden from speaking their native language, raised under new names with no memory of their origins. Some of them didn't recognize the people who had spent years searching for them. Some didn't want to go back. The years could not be returned. The damage could not be undone. Lebensborn was not a fringe program. It was not the work of rogue officials. It was policy, designed, funded, staffed, and expanded by the highest levels of the Nazi state. It operated for 10 years. It reached across an entire continent. And the people it harmed most were not soldiers. They were children who woke up one morning in their own beds and went to sleep that night in a world that had decided they belonged to someone else. Some of those children are still alive today. Some are still searching through archives for a name that matches their face. Some found answers. Many never did. The war ended in 1945. For them, in one way or another, it never fully stopped. If this story moved you, share it so the world doesn't forget.